Hey Clear Lake peeps, Ross England here with Clear Lake Guide Service with your fishing and conditions report for this week. This will be the last report for August 26, 2021. Hope everybody's having a good day. As you can kind of see behind me, I'm out in the middle of the lake where it's pretty calm. Some of the edges are a little bit beat up right now, but overall, pretty calm day. Smoke isn't terribly bad. Certainly isn't as bad as it is in other areas or even, other days here. The smoke conditions kind of come and go. One day, if the wind's blowing the right direction, it's pretty nice. Another day, it's just kind of middle of the road. And another day, when the wind chose to blow the wrong direction, it's pretty bad. So it was bad enough to where I canceled some trips last week just because it was the smarter thing to do. So, okay, last report for the month of August. Let's touch on activities first. Activities, there's a BBT tournament this Saturday going out of about the only place left to go out of, which is 5th Street Launch Ramp in downtown Lakeport. It's going to be a mess. They typically draw 90 plus boats, and it's down to there's only a 2-lane launch ramp there at 5th Street, and the parking has been really under attack with a lot of construction going on. They're redoing the parking lot, which pretty much needed it to be done. So, there's no time's a good time, but now's the time that it's being done. There won't be parking for 100 plus boat trailers there, but those of you who are familiar with 5th Street, there's a big dirt lot that is to the north of the 5th Street launch ramp, and that's got plenty of parking for a lot of boats or a lot of trailers and trucks. So that's the big thing that's going on this weekend. Conditions. Water temperature 78, 79. Actually, you know what? I ran around today up on the upper end of the lake. It's the first time that I've been up here in a while. Probably the last time I'll be up here for a while. And what I saw today was mostly 78, 79 degrees. Down below the Narrows, last couple days we found some 80 degree water, 81 degree water, up to about 82. We've had a bunch of really cooler days. Not super cool, but like high 80s, low 90s, with morning lows that have been down in the 50s, 53, 54, 55, and that cooled off the surface temp a little bit, which is nice. So there's your water temperature. Water clarity, depending on where you are, anywhere from 1 to 3 feet. The condition of the water, algae with, I think it's a combination of both. It's just time of year. There's a life cycle for all this grass and algae and all that, and we're coming to the end of it. So time of year, cooler temperatures, a little bit of wind mixed in with it has really kind of knocked down some of this algae. So most of where I've gotten around to, there wasn't anything that I pulled up to that I said, can't fish here. If you're around an area, as an example, you're fishing some shallow weed mats and the algae's been blowing into that, then that can mess you up for sure. And I did see that in a couple of areas where these shallow weed mats got basically covered up with algae. And at least in my experience, especially if you're looking for topwater fish to come out of them, it just doesn't seem like, it's the same deal. I think the bait fish move or whatever happens. But anyway, there's your algae condition. Weeds, I got around, like I said, quite a bit of the upper end of the lake today, and the weeds are definitely not as bad as I would normally say they are for this time of year. Don't get me wrong, there's a lot of them out there, but they really weren't that bad, and especially in other portions of the lake, they're fading away kind of fast, which is typical for this time of year. Usually once you start getting into early September, you start seeing a lot of these weeds fizzling out, kind of dying. The one note that I would give for most of you folks who are, since everybody's going to be going out of, almost everybody's going to be going out of 5th Street, is if you're in an area that has a lot of weeds, there's still a lot of grebes that are nesting. And I am amazed that this late in the game, I'm actually seeing grebes with young ones, grebes that are still sitting on nests. If you're not familiar with looking out for them, it just looks like a little, pile of tules that are floating around. And normally you see them up in really shallow water, but with some of the winds, some of those nests have been blown out in the middle of the lake and all over the place. So just keep an eye out for them. So temperature, weeds, okay, launch ramps. What everybody's waiting for. From this point forward, I'm just going to tell you that for all intents and purposes, Brado's is closed. For all intents and purposes, launch at your own risk at Redbud and at Clear Lake Oaks. I've heard both sides of it. I've heard, oh yeah, we've been launching there, had no problems at all. And then I've talked to people who have had beyond problems. Pretty significant damage to the trailers. So at this point in time, the only one that I feel comfortable recommending to you is 5th Street in downtown Lakeport. Haven't had any problems there at all. I have not talked to anybody who's had an issue, and there's still a couple of feet left. So, we're at the end of August. I'm pretty comfortable in saying that probably going to make it through the end of September out of 5th Street. Don't know what the next step is. There's some consideration or some talk about the city pulling some of the temporary launch ramps that they have, that they use for the fly-in for the float planes. They have those metal grates that they put down. They could extend the 5th Street launch ramp to make it usable, probably through October. But we haven't heard anything firm about that. So there's your situation. For the most part, with the exception of 5th Street launch ramp in Lakeport, the rest of them, if you find them open, use them at your own risk. Be very careful. Fishing. For me, the fishing got a little bit tougher this past week, and I'm not sure exactly why. I'd like to blame it on the weather. I'd like to say it's because it cooled off a little bit, but there's no good reason for that, because some of the areas that I fished in, we saw fish blowing up on silver sides, and we just I couldn't put anything in front of them that they would eat. So they're still biting. Our average fish ran, it's a good solid 3-pound fish, between really high 2 and 3.5. Just some really nice fish when we're catching them. The problem is we're just not catching a lot of them. For the benefit of the Marshall brothers, we did get them on some frogfish this week, and each one of them caught one, or in one case, one of the frogfish caught a Marshall brother. But the good news was they missed some. They left some out there. So we'll be working on those fish in the future too. We actually, the frog bite is still there. I think it's slowed down. We had one really good fish come up after a buzzbait, but didn't connect. It was one of those deals where it just happened right at the boat. So we're still throwing topwater, a few drop shot fish, a few small swim bait fish, small swim baits. The fish weren't small, and that's pretty much it. I mean, I've got like 9 rods laying out here for today's fishing, and it was today was one of those days I've told you folks about before, where I'm out pre-fishing, looking for another bite, looking for something else I can chase down, and all I came out with was a lot of empty water. So, I finally got tired of it, said I can't go into a fishing report having blanked, so I pulled up to a dock and caught a couple of fish and said, okay, at least I caught a couple of fish. So, what else? That's it. Keep in mind, if you're looking at the future, we're going to have some big events that are coming up. I'll keep you posted on them. September and October are usually a busy time. I know that there's a couple of events that have moved from here because of the water level, and I think it was a good choice on their part, considering we don't have any control over it and we don't know, when it's going to happen. So we'll keep you posted by this report, and I think that'll do it for today. So hope you all have a good one. If you get out this weekend, stick a few fish for me. Thanks.